Hi guys, unfortunately I used to buy into the idea that red tape and bureaucracy were a bad thing, useless paperwork that stifles business. However, over the last few years, and certainly since Brexit, I've come to the understanding that it generally exists to protect businesses from other businesses, to protect the consumer from unscrupulous enterprises, and also to safeguard the environment and workers' rights. So when you hear from people calling for a reduction in red tape, most of the time, but not all, they want safeguards removed so that they can maximize profit. A big concern should be that a government desperate for growth will remove those safeguards, and Sam Coates from Sky News inadvertently pointed to that in a piece on the Major Investment Summit. Have a listen.
There are two things that the government are going to do in this summit today. One is to roll out a series of announcements, and in the last few seconds we've just had the announcement from PD Ports that nearly didn't invest £1 billion in the UK because of comments by the Transport Secretary, but that has now been confirmed to be going ahead. So there'll be 50 plus billion of deals on that announced later. And they're also going to publish a green paper which basically sets out the kind of policy that they're going to adopt towards business. And that's the sort of meaty thing out of today's summit. But Kay, this is hard. It's harder than I think the government want to make out. Let me give you one example, right? People invest in order to make money. They come from all around the world in order to make money. But in some projects in the UK, they're losing money. Look at Thames Water, Abu Dhabi investment firms losing money, and that was announced last week because they say Britain's kind of complicated and the regulators get stuck in and make your life more difficult.
My goodness. The water regulator gets stuck in and makes life difficult. And here we have the crux of the problem. You have a company who is invested in British water, English water I should say, because in Scotland and Wales they're a different situation, but in English water, and is trying to make money out of this. Not, it seems, interested in investing to rebuild infrastructure, but just wants to make a quick buck. And there's a problem there because the regulator is saying, actually, you need to invest or you need to do certain things. And this is bad for business, bad for the bottom line. So what they would like is the government to instruct the water regulator to take a step away from this, to take a step back, at a time when raw sewage is being pumped into waterways. Wonderful.
So what Keir Starmer's actually having to do is tell these businesses, I'm on your side. I will look at what the regulators do. I will make sure that growth happens. But of course, then you've got a whole bunch of Labour MPs and unions going, hang on, but what about standards? What about, the things that were going on with P&O ferries? Where do we draw the line? This is much more of a tightrope, I think, than the government will be making clear in public today.
The problem is the government are over a bit of a barrel because the investment firms, the companies will say, look, we want to invest, but we want safeguards taken away. If you take away these safeguards, we will invest. And the government is desperate for growth. They're desperate for investment. So there's a real risk here that corners will be cut, that there'll be a race to the bottom. And we've seen it with the Tories post-Brexit. Stripping away protections for workers, stripping away protections for the environment, focusing more on allowing businesses to do whatever the hell they want. The water companies is a perfect example of that. And we would hope that Labour MPs and organisations, non-government organisations, will push back, will try to convince Keir Starmer and the government, no, you need to protect workers' rights, you need to protect the environment, you need to have these safeguards in place. Because these companies don't care about the environment or workers or anything else, they just care about profit. They care about their dividends for their shareholders. That can't be the priority.